Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're looking at the Tops Sonoran. So yes, this is coming to us from Tops Knives. This is designed by Dave Holloway, who is a well-known survival expert. If I remember correctly, he's actually in an earlier episode with Les Stroud of Survivor Man, and he was kind of like the coach who spoke about, the desert and how to survive in the desert. So it's named the Sonoran. That's a desert area, 100,000 square miles in the southwest of the United States of America. As you can see, it's a very compact knife. It has that hunter's point, kind of swoops up at the end. One thing, when a knife like this is designed by somebody who spends so much time in the outdoors, my gut is to say, yeah, that guy knows something about knives. He knows what's necessary, what's not necessary, what's overkill, what's helpful, what's not, all that stuff. So as soon as I saw this knife, I reached out to Tops and said, hey, I'd love to check it out, to put it through the paces and to see what we think about it. So it is pretty compact. You can see I've got large size hands. That's what it looks like in my hand. Let me give you the details on the knife, and then certainly we'll put this thing into practice. All right, 7.75 inches from end to end, 3.75 for your blade, so a 4-inch handle, 0.16 inches thick. It is 1095 high carbon steel, Rockwell hardness of 56 to 58. G10 handle, as you can see there, full tang knife. 4.8 ounces for your weight, so nice, compact, lightweight knife, and it does come with a leather sheath, and I'm going to show that to you now. So there's your sheath. Runs nice and deep in the sheath. I mean, only probably like maybe an inch, a little bit less sticking out. Does have a hole there, so you can run a lanyard. There's the loop on the back. A nice setup for just like throw it on your belt, lightweight. Can carry it out when you're backpacking, hiking, camping, bushcrafting, whatever. There's the Tops logo that you can see right there. So this knife, when I first saw it, I want to tell you, it rides really deep, and especially when you get it, it is snug in the sheath. So just be aware of that. Don't cut yourself as you're trying to draw the knife out. When I saw this, one of the first things I thought of was the RB3 from I.C.E, which is one of my all-time favorite knives. And yeah, it just has a similar kind of look and feel to it. A little bit thinner profile and a little bit different design on the blade, but kind of a similar overall look. So there's a quick rundown on the knife, and I wanted to show it to you without having been used at all or anything like that. I'm going to start using it now. We'll get some video of that, and then I'll come back later on after I've used it more long term, so I can give you a better sense of how the knife performs. But the Sonoran, really a nice looking blade there. All right, here's a quick look at the knife on my belt. As you can see, it will move back and forth between your the belt loops. And then drawing it out, like I said, it rides nice and deep. So I don't think, at least initially, drawing it out is probably going to ride up pretty, pull your belt up high like that. So just hold it with one hand, draw it out, and then when you want to return it, slide it in, and then kind of push it down in so it almost kind of squeaks as it locks into place. We're going to process down some wood as if we were going to like make a fire maybe. So I'll just kind of get some of this outer bark off, get a couple curls just to show you what that's like. So like I said, it reminds me very much of the RB3 from I.C.E, but a little bit smaller in the handle. I'm choking up like this now with my thumb resting on the back there. Again, try to just peel off some of this bark a little bit. Let me try the spine here just to shave some of that down, that works great. It's not a 90-degree spine, at least not a sharp angle for 90 degrees, but it's scraping here. I'm getting lots of kind of the dust of the bark. There's a quick look at the spine of the knife. All right, so I got some kind of dust from the bark there, a little bit wet, so I'm not sure it's gonna be super helpful. But let's say I wanted to break this piece of wood into 2 pieces just by using the beaver chew method. I could probably just snap it over my knee, but for the sake of testing out the knife, so putting your thumb on the spine and then just kind of pushing through like this around the piece of wood. You're kind of making tiny little feathers there and pushing away little pieces of wood so you can finally get through. This is a good method if you want to break a piece of wood in half at a particular location too. So if you try to just snap it over your knee, it'll probably break toward the middle, but also it'll find its weakest spot and break. Whereas this, creates the weakest spot. So I'm basically, you know, if I was making a spindle for a bow drill, this would be a way to do that as well. So there that is. I'll put the knife away for a second. You can see what it's done there, and I could probably just do this with my hands. Yep. So quick work, and there's some of your, kind of the other side of the piece of wood. All right, so without a baton, if I just wanted to kind of break this wood up, again, for making a fire, I could just do it with my hand, like so. Line this up. Try to get it into the wood enough, and then eventually you can push it through and just kind of snap a piece off, like that. So again, this guy's definitely not going to be batoning huge pieces of wood, but you can get into the wood, definitely. Snap it into a couple smaller pieces, like that. Let's do it with this guy here as well. So I'm getting into some of that inner dry wood, though this wood is a little damp in general. So there's what that looks like. Over here I got some of the shavings and stuff, and then that's the wood that I just broke up. All right, so I got some small pieces of wood. Now let's say I wanted to kind of lock these in and start getting some feathers to make some, again, to hit with my fire steel eventually. You can see I'm using the curved portion right here on the blade. I just find that effective. You could certainly use other portions of the blade, but I just find I got a lot of control there. So there's some of the feathers. I got started with the Sonoran. Nice work by this knife. All right, so there you can see a nice sized pile of some curls, and I've got some of the bark underneath. I don't think that's gonna work so great because it is a little bit dry, but let's test and see if we've got enough of a 90-degree spine on this to get a spark off a fire steel. So there's my fire steel. I did get a spark off it already. It's definitely work to do so, to get a really strong angle. It's not a super full spark that you're getting off a fire steel like you would off a real 90-degree angle spine. If you go more up toward the tip, it does seem to, I guess, pretty much anywhere on the spine. If you really crank down on it, you can get a spark. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get enough of a spark with that angle on the spine to get this started because it was a little damp already, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see how it works. So as I suspected, it was pretty challenging to try to get a spark off that fire steel to get those feathers started. I will tell you that fire steel in general, just because it's so short, it's hard to really crank down on it like if you had a full-size fire steel like the Exotac cells. I keep that fire steel on my keychain at all times, but I think if we had a longer fire steel and I could really bear down on it, I could get some better sparks. So I think that's less of an issue with the Sonoran and more an issue with the fire steel. You can get some sparks off it though, as you saw. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a hard angle 90-degree spine, but it can still throw a spark off a fire steel. And looking at it, it's definitely a little beat up now on the spine. See if you can see that. A little beat up, but not terrible. So as far as the use, breaking that wood up and then carving those feathers, my hand is fine. Just bearing down in the same position, no matter how comfortable a knife is, eventually your hand just starts to get fatigued. But despite the fact that it's compact and as small as it is, and I've got large size hands, especially holding it like this or holding it like this and, cutting with the curved portion right there, it was fun to use, easy to use. Just kind of a random task here, but I got a straw from my Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee this morning just to show you that it can do some of these basic EDC tasks. No problem. One more cut. Let's see if we can do it. Yeah, no problem for the Sonoran. Slicing through some paper here. no problem. A little bit more carving here. Say you're making a tent stake or something with a point at the end. As you can see, lots of knots in this wood. So obviously it'll get you a nice point quite easily. Same piece of wood. There is a crack there, so this may affect some of the carving, but let's try to, if we were gonna make like a notch for a trap or something like that. So there's what that looks like. Easy work for this blade. And it has turned out to be a beautiful day here in New Hampshire. I'm gonna keep using the Sonoran, testing it out. I gave you the rundown in the opening section. You've seen it in use. Let me keep testing it, and then I'll come back and let you guys know my thoughts on it. Right now, it's a great knife. The question maybe you can think about at this point in the video is, would you consider it a survival knife? And I've got some thoughts on that I'll share toward the end of this video. Who slices up beans and a peanut butter and fluff sandwich? This guy does, because A, it's what we have in our fridge, because B, my wife has been away and I haven't done shopping, so that's what we got. But it still did the job, so good job, Sonoran. All right, let's wrap up here talking about the Sonoran. I feel like maybe at some point I've called this the Sedona, so it's the Sonoran, just so we're all clear. Thoughts on this knife overall. So let's start off with that question of, is it a survival knife? First response a lot of people give is, your survival knife is the knife that's on you in a survival situation, which I agree with the concept. More broadly, I'm talking about, like, is this a knife that you could commit to and say, like, yeah, I call it my survival knife because I go out and I work on survival skills and things like that. For a lot of people, they're thinking about maybe a 5 to a 7-inch blade, a beefier steel, maybe as far as like the thickness, maybe a chunkier handle. The reason that I brought up that question is because Dave Holloway is like a professional primitive skills guy, can survive in the desert like a pro, and this is the knife he designed. My guess is we have to go back to that topic of knowledge weighs nothing, right? If you have a high knowledge and skill set, then with a small knife you can do a lot of things. There are certainly things you can't do with this knife that you could do with like a Tom Brown tracker. Chopping with this is going to be like ding, 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 versus with the Tom Brown tracker, obviously going to be more effective. But it's a great knife. I've liked using it. It's amazing. I mean, I cleaned it up a little bit today, but it's amazing how it's, despite the spine being a little bit beat up, it's in really good shape, cleaned up nicely. But yeah, I mean, if you know how to use a compact fixed blade well, then it can be your survival knife. So this I wouldn't necessarily put in the survival knife category like I would a tracker or maybe even the brush wolf. But if you know how to use it well, it can definitely help you in survival. So that being said, this has been a great knife. I really do love the hunter's point. I think that's really slick. I like being able to kind of use that curved portion for cuts. Obviously, with that type of curve, you're also thinking about, you know, if you're cleaning out some sort of some game out in the field. Certainly with this spine, despite the fact that it's not a hard 90-degree angle, you could, you know, strike the scales off of a fish. You could just use the blade side just at a 90-degree angle to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of functionality. Like I said a bunch of times, it reminds me of the RB3, a different grind than on the RB3, a little bit of a different style, and not as chunky. The RB3 has definitely got a more kind of chunky, rounder handle. But I was a little concerned when I first started using this, or when I first saw it, that it might be a little bit too small for my hand, but no fatigue, you know, slicing, cutting, doing the different things I did with it. I think it's a cool knife. If you were looking for a system, maybe it's an axe and this, maybe it's a larger knife and this, but I've liked this thing a lot. The price point is going to be a little bit shocking for some people. I think 170 is what they're asking for this. I believe this is a limited run for the Sonoran, but you know, if you're looking for something really unique, I think this is something you may want to check out. For 170, you're going to be able to pick up some other pretty large tops knives, and you know, you're getting more steel, more handle, bigger sheath system, stuff like that. But I have liked this. So if you're looking for a unique, small fixed blade for, you know, use as a camping knife or in the outdoors, I think this could be a good option for you. The other thing I'll note is that it's going to be great for EDC tasks too. It's not big and chunky, it's not overwhelming in its weight, but you can, you know, use this just for everyday carry type of things, especially if you work on a farm or outdoors a lot, you're cutting lots of things. Having this type of this blade, I think, could be really slick. I didn't ever add a lanyard. I guess it's a lanyard hole. It's not down low enough to be a full-fledged lanyard hole, but I didn't add a lanyard. I don't need it for this type of knife. I just find it gets in the way. So the Sonoran, I think, is a win. Price is going to be high for some people. I do think 170 is quite expensive, but still a nice knife. The sheath is still on my hip. I did find that as I used it a little bit more and took it in and out, I didn't need to hold the sheath and pull it out. Pretty quickly, it gave a little bit more, had a little bit more flexibility, so I could just kind of grab the end of it and draw the knife out. You're not gonna get a full purchase to draw the knife out. There's only, you know, this much sticking out. So you're gonna grab it and kind of draw it out, and then grab the rest of it and draw it out. But cool knife. I expect to use this guy in future videos and in just future outdoor adventures. So once again, the Sonoran from Tops, gonna run you around 170. Let's hear your thoughts on this knife. Let's hear your thoughts in the comment section about Tops knives. If you own Tops knives, what do you think about them? What have you liked? If there's other knives from Tops that you've used that you absolutely love, that are similar to this or different, let's get that conversation started as well. And then I wanna hear your particular thoughts on this guy right here. What did you like about it from what you saw? What do you like about it from reading up on the Tops website? Tops website link down below in the description section. And let's get the conversation started in the comment section now. Thanks as always for checking out the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Just click that little red subscribe button and then click the bell so you get notifications when we put out new videos. We're on social media, so you'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. And as always, more videos coming soon. Take care.